Speedway Report is a production of ZTV. The ARCA East and West schedules were released, and I use the term schedules loosely. IndyCar shifts a marquee event for 2021, and we will talk about Bill Marvel, a longtime racing behind-the-scenes guy that has given his life to the sport. All this and more coming up. Welcome to Speedway Report, Monday, December the 21st, 2020, from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? Just look up Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and we'll be dropped into your inbox every single week. Our good friend Leo down in South America, he doesn't watch us live at all, yet he never misses an episode. Thanks for always being part of the show, Leo. Yeah, Speedway Report, alive and well down in Brazil. As we talk to you on December 21st, the shortest daylight day of the year. Good news from here on out, as we continue on through Christmas week, the days get longer, and we get that much closer to spring, more racing, as you guys, this is what my audience is all about. This week's Speedway Report Victory Lane Lap got the big goose egg. This makes the second time in 2 years that I was able to find a weekend that we went without any races to really give any results to. I had about a 2 or 3 year stretch where I was able to find at least some kind of a race somewhere. Independent late model shows, something in Florida. But we won't have anything this week. Christmas next week, but then we will get into the Red Eye 50-50 at New Smyrna, followed by the Ice Bowl at Talladega, the Chili Bowl. We'll be off and running. Before you know it, we'll be back in Speed Weeks in Florida. So, still a bunch to talk about this week, as I teased at the top of the show. The ARCA East and West schedules were released within the past week, but after our last show. The National Series was also released. It looked a little bit different, but still somewhat cohesive and reminiscent of what it has in years past. A little bit of changes to it. I'm sure the diehards wish, the ARCA loyalists wish that it had stayed closer to the same, but it somewhat resembles that. It's got a lot of good points on there still. The East and West schedules, however, have been released. The ARCA East Series is the former Busch North Series, and ARCA West is the former Winston West Series. Their schedules were released. If you have seen them, I'll pause for a moment while I allow you all to finish stopping laughing from what you saw and released. I know I was, mortified when I saw each one of them. West has a total of 9 races to it. One is a combo with the ARCA National Series at Phoenix. My goodness, this is the former Winston West Series. These guys used to be comparable to the Winston Cup Series, used to race alongside them. They were combination events, had their own standalone schedule on the West Coast. And in the old Grand National days, it was somewhat already of an East and West series. During the Winston days and even before that, when it was Grand National racing. The West Series, Herschel McGriff was a hero out there up in his 90s now. But this was one of the major powerhouse arms of NASCAR. Now they're reduced to a total of 9 races, just barely alive. Even worse was the East schedule. 8 races going from February to September. 8 races total. My goodness, this is the former NASCAR North Series, the former Busch North Series. I remember the glory days of this, where we watched Dick McCabe and Bobby Dragon and J.P. Cabana and Roger LaPearl and Robbie Crouch and the guys who come down from Canada. And you have the New England guys, Stub Fadden from New Hampshire. And just so much powerhouse, so many legendary New England racers. And this thing has just evolved, or should I say devolved, and crumbled, and fallen, and just gone. What are we looking at here? I've got 17 races total between these two series on the East and West Coasts, as we just grind ARCA into non-existent status here. It will be soon. There's no way this can continue with NASCAR only their second year controlling the ARCA series in what once was a glorious division. And even those races, we remember when we used to have 40 cars show up, or 40 cars start a super speedway race, and we sent some home. There were ones that tried to qualify. There was legitimate non-qualified cars. Now it looks more like a Busch Clash. We're lucky to get into the 20s now with the amount of cars that show up. What the heck happened here? NASCAR gets a hold of these short track series and just destroys them. If you don't believe me, I brought this up, but we've talked about this on the show before. Look up the current All-Pro series. Bob Harmon raised a beauty of a short track series in the early 80s. NASCAR got a hold of that thing in the 90s and ran it from the premier short track series for pavement late models out of existence. Where's the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour? The Smart Series is still here. Smart was here. NASCAR took over the tour, destroyed it. Smart still alive. NASCAR Southern Modified Tour gone. How's that Busch All-Star Series looking for you? Remember that? Midwest dirt late models that ran all these laps and races, again, in the early 80s, used to compete for a national championship. Where's those guys? Gone. Don't exist. The Dash Series. Remember the four-cylinder cars? Oh, one of the favorites of mine. The Baby Grands. They were a great support series for so much down here in the Southeast at North Wilkesboro and Charlotte and Darlington and even Dover and Daytona. Again, no longer in existence. NASCAR just gets a stranglehold on these things and turns them into money makers and slowly bleeds these short trackers dry. And now you're watching the ARCA series, East and West, do a slow collapse. The National Series will be on a collapse further down the road. It's not going to exist at some point, thanks to the hands of NASCAR. They're steering because they're just bleeding these short track blue collar racers dry, just trying to make money, turn it into a money maker, have also severed ties with one of the most prolific short tracks in the country that has been a NASCAR sanctioned track for as long as I can remember, going back to the 1970s. What's going on there? Stay tuned. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. There's just evidence after evidence of NASCAR grinding these things to a halt. On the bright side, IndyCar racing, fighting hard to stay alive, fighting hard to stay relevant, picking up probably some fans that NASCAR has cast aside. California has some of the most strict coronavirus and COVID-19 restrictions in place. You can talk about politics and the economy all you want. There's plenty of other shows for that. We'll stick to racing here. However, the Long Beach Grand Prix was not run in 2020. It fell victim to what so much did during the past year. However, already looking to April of 2021, California saying no go to the Long Beach GP. However, it has been notified with enough time that the city was able to shift this event to September of 2021, giving us more of a chance to get the situation in California under control. And probably the second biggest race on the IndyCar series is now their title race. Yes, the Long Beach Grand Prix will now close the 2021 IndyCar season and crowned a champion on Shoreline Drive. That is pretty cool. Would this be a new home maybe for the Long Beach Grand Prix? I've liked it in its traditional spot. The problem with fall and the autumn, when you get past Labor Day of everywhere, is all these racing series battling the NFL for any kind of recognition. Now, American sports is so splintered right now with everybody taking a position with COVID or politics or social issues that there are NFL fans to scoop up. Possibly, this could be a thing. I don't know if April, with spring in Long Beach, if it seems to be troubling the Grand Prix too much. It's always been a success with the decades there of Formula One, and then with IndyCar being converted over to IndyCar in the 1980s. It's always done well. The place is always big. It's a marquee crown jewel of IndyCar. Now, this takes on the added glamour of the championship race for 2021, thanks to the lingering effects of COVID-19. Not a bad deal. I like that they're able to at least look out and do something with it, look this far ahead. NASCAR's National Series will not race at Fontana early on in 2021, as that race has been moved to the Daytona Road Course. Nice way to water down the Daytona 500, in my opinion. If you race the Daytona 500, then the following weekend, the National Series are back on the road course. If a little bit of something is good, a lot must be better is not true. You water down your marquee product in the gold stuff. It doesn't work well. At least IndyCar had the foresight to look ahead and move the race and try to maximize what they're doing in California and at least complete their series and their schedule and not lose any races. NASCAR seems to be taking the shortcut route and just throwing another race at Daytona since all the teams are already there. There are other options in California. I don't want them to lose the marketplace. Fontana, wasn't that going to be some kind of, weren't they going to swap it into the short track anyway? Or how about running Irwindale? I got too many ideas to help run NASCAR, but nobody's called the show yet, even though I keep telling you guys how to fix this and how to do it right. So anyway, the Long Beach GP will be in September of 2021, away from the April date in 2021, their traditional date. And I certainly want to remember Bill Marvel. I told you about him at the top of the show. I got to know Bill Marvel through my work with the American Auto Racing Writers and Broadcasters Association. Bill passed away December 20th. If you're watching the show live, this was just last night at 90 years old. Got to know Bill up in Indianapolis. And gosh, it's a sad that he's gone, but man, the life that he lived was just full of racing. He did so much being in Indiana. He did so much for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for IndyCar, for press release, public relations, building, being the liaison in the early days of sports media between the racers at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the media. He was a public relations guy. He worked for the NBA team, the Indiana Pacers, the Pocono Raceway when they first were launching the track, building it, getting their first IndyCar race there. They put a 500-mile race together to pair up with Indianapolis and Michigan, and they ran the first 500 there. A lot of that was from part to Bill Marvel. His work, his dedication. He put fencing up. He did public relations. He scheduled radio and TV interviews for drivers. He shuffled them around. He was one of the early guys, a public relations job for folks. It was a salaried position, which is quite common in professional motorsports nowadays. And Bill Marvel was one of the pioneers of this position. As I learned about Bill and talked with him, to him, and got to share some stories with him, it just became he became what I'd call I mentioned the word pioneer of this position of public relations that I don't think existed yet. But he just did it because he saw the growth of the sport and the potential for it. He's had his sons race in USAC. He had one of his sons killed at a midget race in Indiana in the 1980s, and the guy never turned his back on the sport. Bill Marvel kept cruising. He loved the sport right to the very end. I did not see him in 2020 at Indianapolis because I did not go to the 500. COVID-19 rears his head again. However, I did see him in 2019 at the Speedway. He's always been a part of Aruba, was part of our breakfast, was part of the awards. I communicated with him as well. He's done so much for the sport through USAC. I could go on and on. I would recommend go to the USAC website. I've got the page pulled up here. I could talk, read about all the things that Bill Marvel has done. I believe he went this past year to his 80th consecutive Indy 500. With the restrictions with COVID-19, he was not on the press list like yours truly. I couldn't get in, but he knew a guy who knew Roger Penske, and he picked up the phone and was able to get his way into Indy out of the goodwill gesture. So 80 straight years Marvel witnessed the greatest spectacle in racing. He was a veteran too, which always is a special place in my heart. He's done so much, helped build Pocono, worked at the Houston Astrodome even. I would say go to the USAC website because I don't want to read all this to you. I did have the page pulled up for notes just because I read on and on about all that Bill Marvel did for motorsports, everything in Indiana and IndyCar racing in particular. Yet, just one of those behind-the-scenes guys. He wasn't a headliner. This is what makes the sport go around. Are guys like Bill Marvel, and he doesn't get the front page. He doesn't wear a fire suit. He doesn't wear a crash helmet. He's not out on the starting grid, but he's one of the guys that make the sport go around. So Bill just passed away last night, 90 years old, a full year or a full life in this great sport of auto racing. Godspeed, Bill. It was great working alongside you with Aruba. I want to have a little bit more good news here. We did make some updates here on Alex Zanardi. And for those of you that following the story or maybe don't recall, he had a severe head injury back in June in a cycling crash in Italy, and he's been moved closer to his home where his family resides over there. And the good news is that his eyesight and hearing have returned. He's been able to communicate with hand signals. He does not have speech back yet. However, the recent developments here have told us that, or the doctors have said that they expect him to potentially make a complete recovery, and that everything that he was able to do before the crash is a good potential that he can do it after he recovers from all this. It's been a long grind. Zanardi, my goodness, what he's been through, losing both of his legs in an IndyCar crash in 2001. Gold medal champion for the Paralympics, and now with the cycling crash in June, still fighting hard and being the champion that he is with this head injury. But the progress is good for, maybe it'll be a good Christmas week for the Zanardi family in Italy as his recovery improves and moves right along. And as I told you a little while ago, the friction between NASCAR and short track racing in 2021, one of the earliest tracks that I've ever attended in my life, the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, will not be sanctioned by NASCAR in 2021. I saw the Spring Sizzler there for the first trip in 1979. That was the first time I went to Stafford. Maynard Troyer won the 80-lapper that day. It's been a NASCAR-sanctioned track since before that. It has always been, as long as I've been going to Stafford. They will not sanction the track in 2021. Mark Arute made a nice professional press release to the world that said that they simply could not come to an agreement with NASCAR. There's some copyright issues here with the action and the broadcast rights to it. Stafford has developed its own online TV broadcasting, and you know what this comes down to: follow the money. People, well, a few, I won't say names, but a lot of my friends that go to Stafford each week or go to the tour races, are there each and every Friday night, sees NASCAR take and take and take and take and not really give. In the early days of sanctioning short tracks, when Winston was involved, I think NASCAR really had their sleeves rolled up and wanted to put the elbow grease to these short tracks and groom guys and create a ladder system to move the short trackers from Friday and Saturday nights to Sunday afternoon and provide opportunity for them, and also to provide a good facilities and high-ranking, high-paying marquee events for Friday and Saturday night short trackers. That was the idea. That idea is long gone, and as my nameless friends will tell you, the Friday night races at Stafford, NASCAR was all about, what were they doing? Yes, making money off of blue-collar guys in the short track world. Same thing I said, about 15 minutes ago when I was talking about the ARCA series and how NASCAR was ruining them and driving them into the ground and just taking and taking and taking and not giving. A lot of the friends that I know have read Mark Arute's statement. They go to Stafford still every week, and they say to NASCAR, good riddance. Now, I don't exactly know what they're going to do as far as insurance goes. One of the big pluses of having NASCAR sanction you and paying the sanctioning fees was the insurance coverage and the umbrella that NASCAR had. That was very, very valuable to so many short tracks. In 2021, I don't even know what that looks like anymore, but there's a lot of cash being flown down to Daytona Beach, Florida, and the offices there, and there's not a whole lot boomeranging back into the pockets of the short trackers as they spend, and eventually the bubble bursts, and Stafford will not be back with NASCAR in 2021. Sayonara, NASCAR. Y'all lost another good entity. ARCA is just a matter of time before it dries up, blows away, and is nothing but an awesome memory that we all have of the ARCA series. Christmas week, as you can tell by my hat, and I certainly want to pay my respects each and every week to Motor Week Illustrated and Dave Despain and honor our Racer of the Week. I mentioned a few minutes ago, not all racers wear Nomex, gloves, and helmets. They don't all climb into a cockpit and sit on the grid, but a lot of them really make the sport go around through a lot of hard work and not getting nearly the recognition or the money that they deserve. Easily our Racer of the Week, Bill Marvel. Rest in peace, Bill. It was great working with you, getting to know you. Aruba and all of Indianapolis will certainly miss you very much. In between our broadcasts, keep up on the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. We've also got articles to read. We've got our podcasts archived. Let's talk about social media. RacersReunion.com in the forum. On Twitter, Speedway Report and at Speedway Pat. On Facebook, it's Racers Reunion, and right here live Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, as well as our YouTube channel. Big thanks to everyone that joined us live this evening, and I want to thank all of the military, past and present, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report on this Christmas week, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and you can follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. Now, if you're on Facebook Live right now, head on over to the Drag Racing list page. In about 7 minutes, Bill Pratt and John Bachman are going to take you down to the 1,000-foot mark. Now, I'll be back live here in a couple of weeks. This will be our last show for 2020. In between Christmas and New Year's, we're taking a little bit of a break. Live, we're going to return Monday, January 4th. And that weekend, we're going to talk about New Smyrna's Red Eye 50/50, super late models and pro late models. Right after that, the Ice Bowl and the Chili Bowl. There's not much off-season anymore, so we're going to get right back at it. Thank you all for watching. You take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks in 2021. Peace, y'all.